All right, guys, we're live for the second podcast here at the Super Dads, and I'm really excited today because I'm talking to Munir Lazuni. He's an amazing coach that I've had the pleasure to meet about 6 months ago, and he's an amazing guy. His focus as a coach is shy guys. He works with guys who want to overcome being shy. And a lot of us here who have been struggling with health, with medication, who've lost their confidence because their body has gone to hell. And, you guys know it. Self-confidence is not what it used to be. And dating, it sucks. The intimacy sucks. I mean, you guys know how it is. So here it is. Welcome, Munir. How are you doing today?
Hey, thanks for having me, Michael. I'm doing amazing, man. And I appreciate the kind introduction. I wish I could introduce you too and talk about how amazing you are with helping guys. I mean, I heard about your client who lost 100 pounds and now he's like going kayaking completely off meds. I mean, that's amazing, life-changing stuff, man. So I'm honored to be here, bro.
Yeah, it's awesome, man. So Munir, what I would love to know is why shy guys? So how did you get into this? I mean, I think you can really help like a lot of guys there. And I think a lot of us need it. So how did you get into this?
Yeah. So basically when I first started my online coaching program, I just wanted to kind of work with everybody and not really specialize because that's what I'd always done as a personal trainer. Mm-hmm. But what I found is that for people to really move and connect, it has to be beyond fitness, because to just want to get in shape is one thing, but to want to really solve a significant problem in your life is another. And so I decided to work with shy guys because I am a formerly shy guy. And in fact, I still have plenty of shy guy tendencies. I still stutter sometimes. There's still plenty of days where I don't feel like leaving the house. There's still plenty of days where I get super anxious and feel shy around people. But the difference is that over the last 10 years on my journey and taking the steps that I practice and preach myself, and that I implement with my clients, these steps have allowed me to create an identity within myself where I'm able to transcend and break out of that shyness whenever it pops up again. And because I've truly become an expert at this within my own life, to translate it to other people and to look at my top fitness clients who really fulfilled me by their transformation and building confidence, really showed me that this is truly where I need to specialize. So I've ever been refining my system and creating the mindset element of my training program to make sure that it does serve the shy guy and help somebody become happy, confident, successful, positive, everything that a shy guy wants, just to be a confident and driven man.
Yeah. That's amazing, man. I wish that you would have been there when I was younger.
Me too.
That would have helped me out tremendously. I mean, I can relate. I mean, I used to stutter. It was really bad. And I can remember it actually led for me to back when we're talking high school, man, it was to the point where I actually was failing at certain subjects because I just couldn't handle it. And so my question, so you said you were talking about your own journey here. So let me ask you this. So how did you start overcoming this in the beginning?
Yeah. And one thing I want to touch on too is like when you're shy, it can affect so many different areas of your life. Like you mentioned that with your grades, it was even affecting that. And if you think about adults who never overcome shyness, it affects your career, it affects your relationships, obviously, right? And for a lot of guys who I work with, they're struggling to find a relationship that truly fulfills them, where they feel like the man, the leader in the relationship, because they haven't developed leadership within their own life. I don't know if you guys caught that little stutter there, but it still comes up sometimes. And basically, I'm pretty good at hiding it though. But anyways, so essentially, when you overcome shyness, it really does translate into every single aspect of your life, your career, your personal life, your social life, and of course, every other aspect where you may be held back, living in a bubble of your comfort zone. But the path begins with the physical. So obviously, as a former personal trainer / fitness coach, the fitness element is very, very important, and it was a very important element to me. So I'm not saying this is going to work for every shy guy. Like if you're a shy guy who's fit, the fitness aspect is only 1/3 of what I do. But certainly, if you already have that down, then it's not necessarily the place for you to start, but rather to build on that. Michael, what's up?
Yeah, let me interject into this. So let me ask you, I just want to touch base on before I forget it. So you think the fitness aspect is really important if you're not already fit. Would you elaborate on that? Why do you think that would be important?
Absolutely. So the reason why we start with the fitness aspect is because if you aren't fit and your body is not optimized, you're going to feel like crap. Mm-hmm. Like point blank, if you do not feel good and your body's not optimized and you don't exercise consistently, you are going to feel like crap. And if you feel like crap and you are not happy and you're depressed, you are not going to have any confidence whatsoever. And I know this to be a fact because that's how I feel. Whenever I slip up or whenever I allow myself to get lazy, not just with my fitness, but with other aspects of my life where I'm not progressing in life on the things that are important to me, I become depressed. I have nothing exciting to look forward to, which is one of the biggest causes of depression. And I start to feel like crap about myself. So really, it isn't just fitness. It's getting clear on all the priorities that are important to you in life and establishing a very clear vision of what you want your dream self to look like. So you have to think about like what you would look like if you did everything right in your life and if you truly reached and became the person you want to become. And I think for every man, fitness is an element of that.
So let me make sure I understand this correctly. So the way I see this here, and this is also how I understand it, I think we're perfectly aligned here. So I see like, I feel like you have like two things here, right? On the one hand side, obviously, if you rebuild your body, if you look in the mirror and you're like, yes, I like myself again. I like my body again versus God, like I've got this pouch hanging over my belly, over my belt, or like I just don't feel good in my body. That's one aspect, right? So I feel like that's one aspect that you just mentioned, but it sounds like it's not just that for you. It's also by having consistency in your training, and by having the consistency in completing this and having success in doing that, it gives you a success in life that on a daily basis builds your confidence little by little. Is that what you mean?
Exactly. It's all about progress and positive momentum. Because when you have positive momentum towards the things that are important to your life, from your body to your social life and relationships to your career, when you are consistently progressing and you are putting in the work consistently, you have a rhythm that you know is sustainable, that's going to get you to your goals in the long run and in the short run, you have something positive to look forward to. And this automatically brings about positive feelings that will make you feel more confident, more happy, more successful. And ultimately, the fact that you know you're becoming and getting closer to this person you want to become, you're bridging the gap on your potential every single day, is going to give you so much confidence and alignment within your life that you're going to feel absolutely great about yourself. And overcoming shyness becomes very, very simple because there are several different causes of shyness. So I'll get a little bit more into that. But essentially, like, one of the biggest causes for shyness is obviously a lack of confidence. And another cause is being overly concerned what other people think, which again ties in with confidence. When you're truly focused on your goals and you're driven and you absolutely like 100% have your priorities down, you are executing on your priorities instead of slacking on your consistency and instead of honestly betraying yourself and not being true to yourself by not following through on your priorities. When you actually start to prioritize that, you feel great and other people's opinions don't matter as much as your own self-respect. However, when you don't respect yourself because you are being lazy and you're not executing on the things that are important to you, then of course you're going to care what other people think because you don't even think well of yourself. So you're just going to feel like crap and you're going to feel shy. You're going to feel unconfident. You're going to feel depressed. You're going to feel anxious. It's just going to be honestly a crap show to keep my language clean.
All right, don't worry. I fucking swear on here. So
shit show. It's a shit show, man.
You can drop an F-bomb. You should have heard the last podcast. The F-bomb was flying pretty frequently. So it's cool. Perfect. Just be yourself. So I've got a question for you. So I can totally see, right? I think most of the guys, they always, I look, I say, yeah, once I get it going, I'm okay, right? Like, it's like, I feel I get the momentum, but like you said earlier, it's like, you want to have your priorities straight. So like, what tip would you give to a dad in my case, or to any man, that just isn't there? Like a lot of us just like, they're like, I talk to guys and they're not at step 1, they're at step 0.
Right.
They haven't taken the action and they are so paralyzed to take action. So what would you tell someone like that? Saying, hey man, this is how I would approach it. This is how would you do it? How did you do it?
That's a great question. And it comes down to 4 things: clarity, focus, vision, and honesty. So let's start with the honesty aspect first. You got to be honest with yourself. So many people, when we're in pain, we downplay that pain because the human mind naturally likes to take the easy way. And a lot of the time that's living in denial. So first you got to be fully honest with yourself and say, hey, am I really happy with how my body looks? Am I really happy with how my life looks? Am I really happy with myself and who I am? When you ask yourself those questions and you legitimately are not in the place where you want to be, because if you want to be like overweight and unsuccessful and broke and like have shitty relationships, then fine. Like fucking more power to you, bro. Thanks for letting me cuss, by the way. It feels so much more natural now.
But, be yourself, man.
Cool. Forgot to ask you before the podcast. But yeah, so basically, you know, if you feel like shit about yourself, man, like, dude, you're fucked. Like, seriously, it's just going to totally throw you off and you're gonna just not going to feel good about yourself. But if you're okay with having your life be fucked, then dude, fine, be okay with it. But dude, you got to be honest with yourself, man. Is any man really okay with having his life be fucked? Fuck no, man. Because at the end of the day, like that comes from laziness, because when we try to convince ourselves that it's okay for our life to be fucked, that comes from laziness. But again,
laziness or it's fear?
It's fear and laziness are one and the same, man. I mean, all these negative emotions that we face as human beings, because the fear of putting in the work, the fear of failure, the fear of investing time, energy, and or money, whatever it is in life, and failing. Like, for instance, why do kids not put in the work to get good grades in school? Because they're either afraid of failing, they're afraid of putting in the work, they don't feel like doing shit. And if you're being a little boy like that and you're not manning up as a man, especially if you're a father, because you asked me in the context of fathers, or especially if you want to be a father, if you want to be in a relationship, if you want to be somebody that people look up to, because in order to have a great woman, you got to be a great man. Like, at the end of the day, if you want to be a fucking man and man up and not be a little boy who's complaining and being lazy and shit, then you have to put in the work. And so it comes from that fear. It's that fear of growing up, that fear of failure, that fear, even fear of success. Some people are afraid of success. And that's certainly something that I've fallen into before, and something that I have to consciously control my thoughts when I find my thoughts going there again, which is actually step 2 of this process after you optimize the physical and your habits, controlling your thoughts. You have to be able to fix that. So for the guy who's lazy, again, you got to be honest with yourself. And like any man with sanity, you're not okay with your life being fucked. So first be honest with yourself about that, and be honest about how fucked your life is, and don't run away from that pain. Embrace the edge of that pain, because that pain is what's going to motivate you to actually move towards your solution. Because when you look at yourself in the mirror, you're like, holy fuck, dude, I look like shit. Fuck this shit. I'm going to make a change. And you really get angry. That's transformative to your brain. That helps you reprogram yourself and go from being this lazy guy who doesn't want to do shit to actually being the guy who gets clear on his priorities. And that's where you build your vision. Once you're in that place of pain where you truly fucking hate being this fat, lazy, or skinny, or whatever you find yourself in, you know, shy, unconfident, depressed, anxious guy, when you truly realize how much that sucks, then you have the motivation to actually grow up. You have the motivation to actually establish a vision of who you want to be, this happy, great, fit, successful, driven man. And once you get clear on that vision, you think about that vision every day, you actually write it out, and you have a reference point every single morning to look at that vision and get that focus. And you actually plan out the steps on a weekly, monthly plan basis to actually make that dream a reality. You now have the vision, the clarity, the focus, and the self-honesty to make it all happen.
So yeah, it makes perfect sense. I think in so many ways, I work very similarly with my guys. Like I always tell people, like, it's like humans are motivated by two things only, and one is pain, and the other one is the vision, right? Like it's like we got to have pain, we got to have vision, and I think especially us guys, and may that be a single guy in his 20s or a 45-year-old dad, like, we suck at talking about how we feel. We suck about thinking about how we feel. And so we push that shit away, and we just eat and do everything and withdraw. Say, well, I don't have any time, or, you know, the story time, right? Story time, like, I don't have any time, whatever. So all that comes in. And so the way I understand you're saying, you know, like, you gotta be in your pain. You gotta sit with your pain and really let it be. No matter how much it sucks, because like when you get angry enough about the pain that you experience, then you can use it as fuel for change. So my experience now, Munir, has always been like, people who purely operate out of pain, they only operate until they are just out of pain. I don't know, like, you remember, like, in personal training, we see that too, right? Somebody comes in, my back hurts. They're doing great with everything they're supposed to do until they're out of pain. And then they don't do the exercise at home anymore. And then they're surprised why shit starts hurting again. Yeah. All right. And so that's my experience, Munir. So would you agree with that within your niche of guys, like that that can't be everything. Like it can't
100%.
be just pain.
100%.
So how do you guide your guys, your men? Because I know you focus on men. So how do you get the guide your men from the pain to merge it with their vision? So what do you do? How do you do that?
100%. So it's very, very important to get clear on that pain to truly establish your vision, because oftentimes your vision is the opposite of the pain. So for instance, the pain of being an underachiever, not reaching your potential and being unsuccessful and broke is the opposite of being super successful, serving the world with the unique blessings, gifts, talents, and passions that you have to truly create a lucrative career and be happy, great, successful, and rich, right? So those are like two opposites. Just like how being super, super fat, out of shape, or skinny, right? Or like when I first started this thing, when I first started my journey 10 years ago, both where I had skinny arms and a tubby belly. The opposite of that is to be jacked and have a six pack, which, you know, achieving that has given me so much confidence, which is why it's a part of my integral part of my system.
You use it as a starting point, right?
Exactly.
Right.
And being that shy guy who can't even talk to a girl, can't even leave the house, which is what I was. The opposite of that is this confident, driven man who can go up to any girl who wants to talk to her, and whether he gets rejected or not, he has that internal nucleus and confidence built within himself that he can move on to the next girl until he finds a girl who he truly clicks with, and he's able to meet a girl who sets his soul on fire. And that's been my journey as well.
So how do you gap that?
Yes.
So because, all right, like, so let's say like my own journey, like, I mean, from super shy, and I mean, failing in school, I mean, it took me into my late 20s for shit to make click,
Right.
in my head. And that was because I was passionate about what I was studying. So I got really into this. So how do you bridge that gap, right? Like, so because I've got guys, man, that's like, they're like, man, I don't date. They're like, man, I'm not sure I can get it up right now because of the meds that I've been taking. I'm not sure that I don't trust the little man that they will perform. And second of all, I don't want to show this body to anyone, but let's just say they get that physical part under control, and that usually helps somewhat the self-esteem. But often, like what I've noticed with guys and dads who've lost so much weight, they are often stuck in their head as an eternally fat guy.
Yes, 100%.
And so how do you bridge that gap from like I can open my mouth and speak to this woman to I'm confident to approaching her and saying, hey, my name is Michael. Hey, I just want to see if you want to go have a drink at the bar or whatever. However you want to approach this. I mean, I haven't been on the dating scene for a while, so.
Yeah. Well, Michael does quite well, so I'll take nothing away from you there. But essentially, so like to bridge the gap and also to like get clear on that vision. I want to touch on one thing too, is like not being able to get it up. Like even after I got fit, because I still had like a lot of sexual and social anxiety, it was still an issue for me until I fixed that, which is where pillar reprogramming and controlling your thoughts consciously comes in. But so to bridge that gap, so first off, like one can achieve it on their own if they're truly accountable, if they're truly passionate, if they're truly consistent, and if they truly do the research necessary to make it happen. But it takes a very long time. That's one of the most important things about working with a coach or mentor, is it helps you pull yourself along very, very quickly. And to be honest, I was very, very fortunate to have some coaches and mentors. It took me a very long time because I did most of this process myself, but if it hadn't been for my coaches and mentors, I probably wouldn't have made it, period.
Okay.
Which is, my martial arts instructor was a great mentor to me. I had a powerlifting coach who helped me actually learn how to train physically properly. I had various other mentors, people I looked up to, who I really sought out, because what I realized is that to surround yourself with the right people is key. And that's pillar number 3 in my system as well. But we'll touch on that in a minute. But to answer your original question of bridging the gap and getting from that pain to where you want to go, especially in the context of women, like it does take baby steps to build your capacity. Now, I don't want to say like baby steps per se, but there's kind of 2 ways of going about it. And for shy guys, the second way is usually better. But the first way is to just throw yourself into the fire, get burned a couple times so you learn how to not get burned and actually walk through the fire without getting burned, and you're good. For most shy guys, that's almost impossible because it's just ridiculous. So the next step would be limited exposure. So after we build on those 3 pillars of optimizing your body and habits, fixing your mindset, controlling your thoughts, and getting into an environment that's growth-oriented, helps you improve and get better and pull you forward by the positive people and mentors you surround yourself by. Said that really fast. When you have those 3 pillars in place.
I'm
just speaking the message, man. It just flows. But essentially, once you've optimized those 3 pillars, you now have the power to actually start building those baby steps. So if your biggest fear, the place where you're the most shy, is with talking with women, what you can do is take baby steps. So first you just hold a girl's eye contact until she looks away before you do. That's like baby step number 1. Baby step number 2, say, hey, as you're walking by a girl or a person or a guy, you can even work up that capacity with guys. If you're too shy to talk to guys, you're probably gonna be even more shy to talk to girls. And that's something that I have myself do, is on the days where I feel very like closed in and shy, don't feel like talking to people, I make an effort to say hi to the first person I see that day. And even though the fear that most shy guys have is that that person is going to be mean or ignore them or whatever, which happens sometimes, most of the time people say hi back. But the thing is that when you've built those 3 pillars that I mentioned earlier, a little too quickly, but I mentioned those 3 pillars a little earlier, what happens is you have that internal confidence and nucleus within yourself of positive energy and positive momentum, to where people being negative no longer gets to you. Like people who you say hi and they like look at you funny, like, why are you saying hi to me? It's like, okay, well, you have that positive energy within yourself already because you've optimized yourself through those 3 pillars, to where that person's negative energy doesn't pull you down anymore, but rather you feel compassion for them and say, hey, I hope that high like brightened this person's day, because they're obviously pretty fucking miserable. But same thing applies. Like, so you start building that habit and you start really calibrating your mind to think that way. And by the time that you actually build the baby steps, where now you ask a girl, hey, how's it going? Good. How are you? Good. Thanks for asking. Next, hey, do you know what time it is? Okay, cool. Hey, do you know how to get to this place? Boom. And you eventually work your way up to where you can straight up go up to a girl and say, hey, I know it's a little bit random, but I thought you were really attractive. I wanted to come see what you're like. I'm Munir. That's literally my approach every single time, because I like to go direct. I don't like to play games. And it took a bit to work up to that capacity. Yeah. But ultimately, and I had good mentors there too. I had, blogs I read, different individuals who taught me how to do this stuff. And as well as an accountability partner, my roommate, who did this with me. So I wasn't alone, where I was actually able to really build on that, which again, environment's key. But yeah, to bridge that gap requires those baby steps of exposure. But the cool thing is, because each baby step, you realize that by being a positive person and always doing the right thing, that you never have any reason to feel bad. If you approach a girl and she like rejects you, or she gets mad, or she's like, a bitch, for lack of a better word, you have this positivity and confidence built within you, to where you see it as your problem and say, hey, you know what? Sorry you feel that way. I hope you have a great day. And because you showed her that positive energy with sincerity, instead of like being mad or feeling entitled for her to like reciprocate or whatever, because you have that giver's mindset, that abundance mindset and all that good stuff, you literally think, holy crap, I'm so glad I approached that girl, because even though I rejected her, I probably just brightened up her day, because now she feels more attractive about herself. And now she's going to not be so miserable. She's not going to be so toxic, and she's going to go on to make her world a better place. And that's what this is all about. When you are focused on making the world a better place, you make your world a better place. And it all ties in on this spiritual, high frequency kind of level.
Yeah. Yeah. So you mentioned here, I like this, obviously baby steps, right? And so you mentioned the environment, right? So I know that you, within your own community, it's very important to have a supportive community of guys. And let's face it, I sometimes think, honestly, we guys emotionally seem to be a lot more fragile. I know a lot of guys don't like to hear that, but I think emotionally, most guys are a lot more fragile than women, because we don't learn how to handle emotions. Right? Like, because for us, it's not okay. It's not okay to cry. It's not okay to feel fear. It's not okay to be hurt. It's not okay to, we're always supposed to man up. And at least that's was my experience. And a lot of the guys that I've been working with has been very similar. So I feel like having this environment that you mentioned that is supportive, especially within your coaching community, right? It is supportive. It is loving and non-judgmental. I mean, what a lot of my guys are here, I love that there's no judgment here. Mm-hmm. There's no judgment. I fuck up and there's no judgment. There's just, hey, okay, come on, let's get you back on the ball. Let's get you rolling again. And so let me ask you, how would you like this approach? So, and I know I'm writing this a little bit with the women, because a lot of my guys are, they're middle-aged. Like, often their first marriage has failed. They're alone. They're dating, or they're not dating, and because they're not feeling confident. And would you say it would be helpful for them to expose their journey that they're going through to some of their close friends, and basically say, hey, listen, like, I've got a coach. This is what I'm doing. So I would love to, I'm working on coming out of my shell. I'm working on doing this. And what I don't need any advice. I just need the support. I need a safe environment. So when we go out, let's say we go to, I have like a wingman or like a group of friends. So when there's a woman that is pulled into the conversation, that I can safely maybe be on the sidelines for a little bit, get comfortable, and then open into the conversation. Would you say that would be an approach that you would agree with, or would you do it differently, or what are your thoughts?
Yeah, man. So, there's many ways to skin a cat, at least when it comes to women. But as far as like us with our, I didn't mean that. There are many roads to Rome when it comes to
yeah, okay.
that's a little yeah, that's very weird. But anyway, so yeah, man. As far as that whole road goes, yeah, it's very, very important to surround yourself with people who you can actually open up to, take off the mask, and be your real self. Because if you can't take off the mask around your friends, they're not true friends. And at the same time, while your friends should not judge you per se, they will still hold you accountable. Where it's like, I'm not going to judge you that you pussy out of talking to that girl, but I'm going to hold you accountable to talk to the next one. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's, ultimately the type of people you want to surround yourself by. Because if you surround yourself by judgmental people who cut you down, who pull you down, and don't allow you to open up and be vulnerable, not only does that limit your self-honesty, which again is one of the first pillars of the system, is to be honest with yourself and to be honest with other people, which means being real and vulnerable about your insecurities and about your fears and about everything. Because not only does that give you the power to succeed, but it also gives you the power to express yourself. When you can express yourself, positive and negative, you start to move more towards the positive. Versus if you're always bottling everything in, those negative feelings ruminate and they build and they become, this very inescapable trap. But so you need to surround yourself with the right people who you can open up to, be vulnerable with, be your real self, so you can grow your real self instead of being fake and hiding behind this curtain or this mask. And as far as with women too, like you got to be open and honest and vulnerable with women, meaning you're not too afraid to show your feelings. You're not too afraid to talk to a girl, because when you go talk to a girl, you're making yourself vulnerable to be rejected, vulnerable to not click with her, vulnerable for her to laugh at you, all these other things, vulnerable to see you with your clothes off. You know what I mean? Like it's all, yeah.
Yeah, I think it's almost like that's where the basis work comes in that you mentioned earlier, right? The like in the beginning of our conversation where you say, like, we got to work on the basics. We got to work on like you got to start feeling comfortable in your body. You got to like your body. You got to feel good in your body. It doesn't mean you have to have a six pack. It doesn't mean you have to be shredded or huge or skinny or whatever. But you got to find your point where you feel comfortable in your body. So that basically you're trying to reduce the areas that make you feel insecure.
And trying to build the areas that make you feel confident. And again, it's about positive self-image, your body, your personality, your social standing, your everything. It's a positive image everywhere that you want to work towards, which is all part of progressing to become the person you want to become, which ultimately is what brings confidence, alignment, happiness, greatness, and success.
Yeah. Awesome. So on the overall picture, what do you think is one of the most important, or the most important lesson for shy guys? What do you think would say like if you don't do anything, this is what you need to do at least to get started?
Yeah. So first off, you should do everything, but you should work up your capacity to do so. And so I think, the great part of that question is, where should you start? Because if I can get you to start with something that gives you the small wins and the motivation and the feeling of positivity and success necessary to have the courage to embrace your fears and try the next thing, I would definitely say it's working out. Like, you got to get on point with your body, which means if you're like literally too shy to sign up for a gym membership, start doing some push-ups, start going for walks, start doing something physical. And actually, believe it or not, that's one of the habits I have my clients do, which is what I call a clarity walk. Because there's a couple of nice things about a clarity walk. One, it increases your activity level because you're going for a walk, you're burning calories, you're getting the blood flowing. Two, a clarity walk isn't just a walk, but rather it's a small commitment to yourself. You're committing to go for a 5 to 10 minute walk, either first thing in the day, or if you screw up and don't do it first thing in the day, do it last thing before you go to bed. Not only will it help you relax and get clarity in your thoughts, but it's also going to give you a little bit of physicality, physical exercise, blood flow, endorphins, the other positive hormones that are released when we physically exercise, even a little bit of testosterone and dopamine, which are all hormones associated with positive feelings of success, confidence, and motivation. And by going for a little clarity walk, and then the other thing with the clarity walk is you ask yourself these questions. What do I want? How do I get it? Who do I need to become? How do I get better? What can I create that's positive for me to look forward to? These are like the types of questions. You don't have to ask those exact questions, but the types of questions you ask yourself on a clarity walk that helps you get that clarity, that focus, that relaxation and that positive feeling that gets you going. So if you are like totally fucked and you're like barely afraid to leave the house, go for a clarity walk in your backyard. Freaking meditate in your backyard, because clarity walk is just a walking form of meditation, and you will feel better. You'll build the courage to make that baby step and go for a walk, building the small wins. You build that habit. Now you have the courage to step up within your career, whatever else you're doing, or that courage to actually go get a gym membership, that courage to start eating better, which is another baby step I'd recommend, to start eating healthy and eliminating processed foods, getting more protein in, drinking more water. These are all little baby steps you can make that will give you the momentum you need to succeed. And when you truly are ready, work with a mentor who will pull you there quickly, hold you accountable, and boost your frequency, boost your standards to truly help you become who you really want to become.
Awesome. That's fantastic. I love this. I love the idea of the clarity walk. I mean, for me, like my guys, I have basically I have like a 10, 15 minutes in the morning where they do gratitude work, and just write down a little bit of action, and maybe the truth. Like I always say, for me, it's like, what is my truth? I write down like, what is my truth in the day? Like, what am I afraid of? Like, what am I struggling with right now? And those can be some hard truths, I can tell you. But so I love this. I love this idea of the clarity walk, because I honestly, I'm best when I can. I'm terrible. I'm a terrible conversationalist if I just have to sit on a couch. And I think better when I walk, and I coach better when I walk. I do a lot of my coaching calls walking. I can totally relate to that. I love that. Now, one thing, and the last thing here that I want to bring up is, what if you fail? Right? I mean, like, let's face it. Like, we're all we all fail. Right? We all what I mean, as a coach, as a human being, like, there will be days when we're good, when we've worked out our courage up, and then we're days where we think we have our courage up, and then we want to do something, and all our shyness starts to hit us. We stutter again, and all of a sudden these thoughts of like, shit, like, all this hasn't worked. I'm back at step one. Like, how do you recommend handling that?
Absolutely. So as you heard me mention, I still have plenty of shy guy tendencies. I freaking stuttered a couple times on this podcast too, but you probably didn't even catch it because of one shift that I've made. And that shift is to realize that you're not perfect. Because one of the biggest things that holds shy guys back is being in their head. One of the biggest reasons people stay depressed, stay anxious, all these things, is they're so in their head, and they're judging themselves so hard in their head for every little failure, every little thing that they did that wasn't perfect, because they expect themselves to be perfect or to have to be perfect to feel happy and successful, that there's always this pressure that truly limits your success. So the reality is, you have to decide one of two things. Do you want to be perfect, or do you want to be successful? Do you want to be perfect, or do you want to progress? Do you want to be perfect, or do you want to actually get better? And that's the thing. If you have this maladaptive concept of perfectionism in your head, where you have to be perfect to be happy, to be progressive, to be successful, you're going to fail. So the reality is, you have to accept one thing, which is that failure is a part of life. And if you need proof, if you look at any successful person in this world, any happy or confident person in this world, they have failed at some point. I'm sure you guys all know what Kentucky Fried Chicken is. The guy who started Kentucky Fried Chicken was broke as fuck when he was 61. And he was like barely living off Social Security. And I don't remember the exact story, the exact figures, but basically he took his chicken recipe to like 100 restaurants, kept getting rejected, kept seeing failure. So he finally got some traction. And like 10 years later, he's a multi-billionaire with what is now KFC, which is like a multi-billion-dollar franchise. Yeah. And I don't remember the exact figure. Or Abraham Lincoln. We all know who Abraham Lincoln is. He lost every single election that he was in until he won the presidential election. Michael Jordan, I think we all know who Michael Jordan is. He misses like thousands of shots in training, but the shots that you don't take are the ones that you truly miss. So at the end of the day, I mean, look, I can throw out all these buzzwords and phrases, but the reality is, like, failure is a part of success. Failure is a part of life. And the key is what you do with that failure. Because if you allow failure to hold you back and make you define yourself as never having progressed in the first place, then yeah, that's going to become your reality. Again, it's all about self-perception, and perception is reality. However, if you accept the fact that you're not perfect and that you're going to fail, and that you use your failures as either learning steps or you just completely let them go, that is the key to success. And it's a very interesting book I read. I have all my guys read books. Psycho-Cybernetics. I'm halfway through the book, and one principle that he shared, and I can go really deep in this, and I mean, like, I talk about this quite a bit on my Facebook page and everything else, but if you beat yourself up over a mistake, that mistake starts to dominate your thoughts, and whatever dominates your thoughts determines the direction that your mind and body direct all of your action. So that's another reason why vision is so important, is that when you have a clear vision of what you want to be in your life and you're thinking about it every day and you're reminding yourself every day by having a vision board or something that you can look at every day, or even just a note that reminds you of who you want to become, your mind, body, and actions naturally orient themselves towards that thing. So if you're constantly stuck in this loop of failure and beating yourself up over the things you've done wrong, which I know is so hard, because for years I beat myself up over shit. And even this week I made a big mistake and I was beating myself up for it like crazy, but really trying to consciously control my thoughts until I eventually got out of it. If you're constantly beating yourself up over your failures, you're going to bring about more failure, because that's how you're defining yourself. And that's the dominant thought in your head that's determining how your actions and body and mind align themselves. Yeah. So to realize that, and to realize that instead, to overcome failure, you have to see, is there a lesson in this failure? If yes, learn that lesson and then forget about the failure so it stops defining your thoughts and reality. And if there's no lesson to be learned, let it go, period. Another benefit of clarity walks, meditation, gratitude is it helps you let go of negative thoughts and thoughts in general that don't serve you.
That's awesome. I like that. And it reminded me of something like we were talking about dating and vulnerability. You mentioned that earlier. My personal experience was so my insecurity was so high that I had performance issues. And I was like, shit, but for me, I was like, yeah, at some point I was telling the woman, I said, listen, I usually don't, it can happen that shit just falls down. Just in the middle of it just falls down because I'm in my fucking head. And I was like, but I've got hands and fingers and mouth and whatever, and I will do anything I can do. But the thing is, I was like, I have issues. So I was vulnerable. I made myself vulnerable. And said, but I will do my best I can to be there for you in other capacity while that happens. And when it comes to being in the public, I mean, you and I, we speak publicly now all the time, right? All the time. And when I started out first, and I still struggle with that, I did the same thing what you mentioned earlier, the vulnerability. What I've learned, most people want you to succeed. Most people want you to succeed. And so I would go out and say, listen, guys, I'm really nervous. I might stutter here. And I'm not even from the US, so this is not even my main language. So if you have a hard time understanding me or I stutter, I apologize. I will get my shit together at some point, And the funny thing is, I never stuttered. Because I was able to let go of it. Because I was like, here, this is my shit. This is my problem. This is my shit, but I will do my best. And like you said, it's not about perfection. I won't be perfect, but I will do the best I can. And that has really helped me. And I appreciate you bringing that up. I really like that. And I hope that, I think we got a lot of good stuff and a lot of good points here for our audience today. And Munir, I really appreciate you coming on board here today. And I'm going to end the podcast now. I would like to have a little bit of a chat with you here afterwards, if you have a minute, and we're just going to go from there. But in the meantime, I'm going to end this, and I'm going to reach out to you in a second. Thanks so much again for being part of this today. I really appreciate it.
My pleasure. I appreciate it, man. Thank you so much.